Welcome back to the Countdown to Bond 25. Today's film is Octopussy. Now, I know what you're thinking, and the answer, you sick freak, is no. She does not actually have 8 of them. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Countdown to Bond 25 here on Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know the drill. It's Octopussy time. Octopussy was released on June 6, 1983, and I am going to try to do something very difficult right now. I'm going to try to, in one breath, sum up the plot of Octopussy, because this is a weird movie, and I don't think it was ever actually written with words. Alright, the plot of Octopussy is an evil Soviet general wants to do disarmament in the West so that they can take over the western parts of Europe that they don't have yet, so he comes up with this elaborate scheme to team up with Octopussy, who is a jewelry smuggler, and this guy Kamal Khan, who knows Octopussy, and they try to get Kamal Khan to put a bomb into a circus to blow up the Western Bloc. I can't even do it. Okay, something about using fake Fabergé eggs and fake jewelry and a smuggling ring to get a train with a circus into West Berlin and sneak a bomb on the train and then blow up a circus in West Berlin, but nobody will be able to know who it came from, even though it was secretly an Eastern Bloc plot, and they will assume that it was a misfire by a US nuclear weapon, and then they will force the US to disarm and pull out of that region, leaving it open for the Soviets to roll their tanks in and take over. Because they already own Czechoslovakia, and as we all know, Czechoslovakia will last forever. The song of Octopussy, unfortunately, is not called Octopussy. That would have been fun to see them try to rhyme that. No, the song is called All Time High, sung by Rita Coolidge, and in my opinion, it might be the most boring theme song of any James Bond film. Here's the thing about All Time High. It just does not sound like a song that should go with an action-packed spy movie. All Time High sounds like something that your grandparents would dance to on their 50th wedding anniversary. It's beautiful, it's romantic, it's sultry, but it's not synonymous with the Bond whatsoever. And what's even more interesting about it is that the lyrics of All Time High were written by Tim Rice. I didn't know that till this recent watch through, but Tim Rice wrote this. And if you know that name, it's because Tim Rice pretty much wrote all the songs of our childhood. He was the Disney go-to songwriter. He wrote the Lion King music. I'm pretty sure he also wrote Aladdin's music and Beauty and the Beast. Tim Rice was Disney's golden boy when it came to their songs. So to see him here, 10 years before the fact, writing All Time High, I don't know, maybe his grandparents were celebrating their 50th anniversary and he was like, oh, I better get something hammered out for them. And I have this James Bond contract. 2 birds, baby. We have one big first in Octopussy, and that is our first time with our new M. The new M is played by Robert Brown, replacing Bernard Lee, who, as we mentioned yesterday, passed away. Robert Brown is fine. He's a fine-looking M. The thing about him is he's just not very distinguishable. He tends to blend in with the other, like the Minister of Defense, just the other old British dudes who are James Bond's bosses. They all look alike in these movies, particularly here in Octopussy. So even though it's nice to have an M again, he's a little bit underwhelming. Once again, they try not to rely too heavily on gadgets, but James does have more here than he had last time. First, he has this little mini plane that he flies around and he takes out a hangar full of bad guys, and the plane hides behind a horse's ass because why not? Then later on, Q gives him a ballpoint pen that can spew acid, and he uses it to escape from prison. And later still, James dons what I can only describe as a fake alligator body to break into Octopussy's palace. I really wish they would have shown that in the laboratory. Show me how he got that. Show me Q explaining how the alligator suit works. It's like a Mario power-up that didn't make it past the second stage of rewrites. The ladies of Octopussy include this lady, Magda, who is a really cool kind of cat burglar character, which makes sense because a lot of this movie revolves around jewelry heists and Fabergé eggs and the like. Magda also gets the best quote of the movie, but we're jumping ahead too far. Then, of course, there is the main lady of the picture, the one that was so main, they actually named the movie after her, which hasn't happened before or since, and that is Octopussy, played by Maud Adams. Maud Adams is returning into another significant role where she was last seen in The Man with the Golden Gun. Now she's here playing a totally different character. Now she's the main leading lady. But what I find a bit unfortunate about Maud Adams as Octopussy is that she, A, doesn't really do a whole lot, and B, doesn't really show up till way late in the game. I think you have to wait at least an hour to see Octopussy. And that's kind of a shame because Maud Adams is apparently a lovely lady to work with. She's great. She's awesome. She loves working on these films. So you'd think with this cool character they built for her, she owns like a cult of ladies who are basically like a bunch of Black Widow cat burglars that she trained. You'd think they would give her more screen time, maybe even make her a cool villain instead of the villain we ended up with. But no, Octopussy kind of gets shortchanged. Clearly, they were more interested in banking on her name as a shock value title than they were in the character herself, which is too bad because Maud Adams is, as usual, great in the role. Octopussy is packed to the brim with villains, lots of henchmen. First off, we get the two twins, Mishka and Grishka, the acrobat knife-throwing circus twins who are vaguely Eastern European, I assume. I'm just going to say that they're from Kazakhstan because they kind of look like they would hang out with Borat. Then there's General Orlov, the mad Soviet general who put this whole plan into motion in the first place. But those villains aren't really in the picture a whole lot. The ones that we focus on the most are our main villain, Kamal Khan, and his henchman, Gobinda. Gobinda is, as far as I'm concerned, the star of this show. Gobinda is just this unwavering presence. He's always around. Every time James tries to do something, or James's allies try to do something, Gobinda is always right there with his fierce, angry eyes, ready to stop them. This guy has a blunderbuss. That's how badass Gobinda is. As far as main villains go, though, I don't think Kamal Khan is all that impressive. He's just kind of a random-looking dude who helps further the Soviets' plan and uses Octopussy. He's kind of like a middleman. It's a shame that they didn't make him a more memorable guy. Octopussy really has no death traps, which is a strange thing to hear from a mid-80s Bond film. The closest thing to a death trap is that James at one point gets stranded in the jungle and all of Kamal Khan's men are hunting him on elephant back, and James just has to escape while also dealing with the wildlife of India because India has a bunch of wildlife and apparently all of it is dangerous and their favorite food is James's face. The best quote of the film definitely comes from Magda. It's one of the coolest little innuendo touches that the Bond films have always been great at. James and Magda have just done the deed and now they're lying in bed together post-coitus. Both of them are sipping from glasses of champagne. Magda's glass becomes empty. So she looks at James and she says, "I need refilling." Cheers. For me, the most problematic moment of Octopussy was the fact that our main villain, Kamal Khan, is supposed to be, quote, an Afghan prince. Judging by his name, he is clearly not a white person. He is an Afghan prince, and yet they cast a French actor, Louis Jourdan, to play him. As far as I can tell, Louis Jourdan is not Afghan or Indian or anything close to that in the slightest. He's just a French guy. So that's a real shame. You cast so many great local Indian actors. The guy who plays Gobinda, terrific. The guy who plays James's sidekick, Vijay, he's not even a real actor. He was just a super famous tennis player of the time in India, and he was so charming and charismatic. He did great. The Bollywood industry is ginormous. There is an endless supply of Indian talent you could have gone with, and you just hired a French guy to play the main villain? What's up with that, man? Come on. If you had cast him better, I guarantee you, more people would remember Kamal Khan as a James Bond villain. Because as it stands, nobody does. There's also a lot of what was going around in the 80s at the time, this weird xenophobic thing about what people eat in India. It's funny because I think 1 or 2 years later, we get Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where we have a very similar scene. Both of these movies involve the main hero sitting down to dinner at a table in India, and they are served the grossest food imaginable. In Indiana Jones, it's played for huge, immature laughs, and here, I don't know what they're playing it for, but I don't know. 80s Hollywood, have you ever tried real Indian food? It's damn delicious. What's going on here? All of this notwithstanding, Octopussy is just a really great, solid James Bond film. It's nice and long, which I like. It clocks in at about 2 hours and 11 minutes. And it's super dense. There's always so much going on. It's bright and colorful, especially all the scenes in New Delhi. That's a nice new location that we haven't seen James dip into yet. He also goes to a strange location that I didn't even know existed. I don't know if this is a real place, but apparently back in the day in East Berlin, there was a place called Karl Marxstadt. 3 guesses who it's named after. One final little tidbit that I thought was really interesting. Remember back in the Thunderball episode of this countdown, I mentioned how I'm obsessed with the idea of who the other 00 agents are. We know there are more of them, and we never get to see their faces. Well, in Octopussy, we almost see a face. Kind of. The opening scene of Octopussy involves Agent 009, who is murdered by Mishka and Grishka, but 009 is disguised as a clown. He's actually giving off some really heavy Pennywise vibes. I can't figure out who's playing him, and it's hard to dig through the credits because this isn't even a speaking role, but that is 009. His face is hidden by clown makeup, but he's there. He exists. This might be the most we get of a 00 agent in the field, besides James. I want more. I want more 00s. No Time to Die. Are you listening? Give me all the 00s. Make it crazy. Cast like 8 other huge stars and blow my mind. I'm still pulling for Leslie Jones to play 003. Why not? Blow my mind. Well, that has been Octopussy, a really solid James Bond film. Not the greatest leading lady, not the greatest leading villain, but altogether, it's a lot of fun. Tomorrow, here on Thumb Together, the countdown to Bond 25 takes us to the final outing for Mr. Roger Moore, who has grown far too old to play this character anymore. We are going into A View to a Kill. That happens tomorrow. I will see you then when the countdown to Bond 25 continues.